Race 1 of the Prosecco DOC UK round gets underway. Jonathan Ray's made a good start, cuts in across the front of Michael van der Mark to lead them at the end of the Wheatcroft Straight for the first time. Third position is with Tom Sykes. Garrett Gerloff coming through, and Toprak Razgatlioglu has made an absolute blinder. I can't believe what I'm seeing. He's through for 5th position already. Surely that can't be the case. I cannot believe that. What a brilliant start for him. A bit of a moment there as they come through. The left-hander now. Gerloff slipping backwards. Razgatlioglu closing down the BMWs. Leon Haslam in 6th position with Alex Lowe, Scott Redding, Michael Ruben Rinaldi and Andrea Locatelli rounding out your top 10. And Razgatlioglu comes through, charging his way towards the front as if his life depended on it. He's got through now on Michael van der Mark. He's immediately going to have a go at Tom Sykes. And if he gets through on Sykes pretty quickly, the only man stopping him from taking a race victory here today is Jonathan Ray. OK, he's probably not the man you want in front of you, and Ray has managed to break clear of Sykes and van der Mark. But what a stunning opening lap this has been from Toprak Razgatlioglu.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say Ayrton Senna, Razgatlioglu up in second spot there, but for Toprak, that's an unbelievable first lap to come through from the 5th row of the grid. You can see how tricky it is for riders out there. The experience can make a big difference. Leon Haslam making a good start as well, picking up a few spots into the top 5.
Yes, Haslam closing down Michael van der Mark as Alex Lowe makes a move on Garrett Gerloff aggressively and possibly from a little bit too far back as well, but he gets across the front of Scott Redding. Redding takes advantage of the opportunity to pick the pocket of Garrett Gerloff. They're still side by side as they come in towards the second of the 2 hairpins and towards the completion of lap number 1. And Redding's got the move done on Gerloff, who was rather bullied there by Alex Lowe. And Gerloff hasn't been afraid of making a few aggressive manoeuvres of his own in 2021. He's got a bit of a taste of his own medicine there as Jonathan Ray almost loses it. And that's the danger in these damp patches, tricky conditions. It's not as easy as it looks out there for the likes of Jonathan Ray.
It's not easy at all out there around Donington Park. It looks like Redding's gone down.
Redding's gone down. Scott Redding from inside the top 10 positions from 7th place. We're riding on board with him as the bike comes to rest in the grass, and Scott Redding has binned it from the top 10 places.
Yeah, it looks like Redding's been caught up a little bit in that bike as well. A little bit of a limp there for him, but at the front of the field, you saw that moment for Jonathan Ray. A little bit further around the lap, it was Scott Redding get caught out by that, but Toprak on the move.
Here goes Toprak Razgatlioglu for the lead. Yes, you heard me correctly. He started from 13th position on the grid. He was up to 2nd within a lap, and he is your new race leader. Razgatlioglu bursting clear. Jonathan Ray in 2nd position. Sykes versus van der Mark now for 3rd place. We've lost another of our runners in Christophe Ponson, the Frenchman, but the big name casualty of this race so far at the start of the 2nd lap is Scott Redding, and that is giving us a position where it's certainly looking like a 2-horse race in this race and in this championship. Razgatlioglu going much deeper than he wanted to go there at the Melbourne hairpin, manages to get it stopped with a bit of a slide. Jonathan Ray though still looking menacing on his tail. No jump start. That's good news for Toprak, because the way he went about his business on the first 2 turns, you might have expected that he'd jump 2 rows.
Good news or a miracle for Toprak there. That's fantastic for Toprak. He's out there on the X tyre as well. That super soft rear tyre. You can see Jonathan Ray getting sucked in to Redgate there as well. Very easy to have that happen. Jonathan's now had a couple of warnings into turn 1, and he might well just have to dial it back and try and wait for this race to come towards him. Toprak right now, he's got a
Jonathan Ray with a massive moment. He's going to leave the circuit altogether. He's going to cut across the grass, some grass tracking style. He'll appreciate the motocross days as he rejoins the circuit with a bit of off-road, and he's managed to retain position as well. That was miraculous. Well, so much for Razgatlioglu needing to put in a damage limitation ride from 13th on the grid. He's powered away and in front and has a real opportunity to cut the championship deficit further to Jonathan Ray.
It's not bad damage limitation, you know, to take a lap and a half to hit the front, but certainly for Toprak right now, he knows that the pressure is going to come from Ray. Right now in these conditions, 23 degrees track temperature, it's not what you need for the X tyre. You talk to the engineers and most of them say at the bare minimum you need 25 degrees for that X tyre, usually a little bit more than that as well. The Yamaha, you can get away with it a little bit lower, but right now with Jonathan Ray pulling in half a second a lap and Toprak having a big moment through Goddard's there as well, it is a case of maybe right now that X tyre just is a little bit of a struggle, but Toprak puts in his fastest lap of the race. Jonathan Ray just matches him now as well, so it is a case of give and take right now between these two riders. Toprak is digging in.
Yes, good work from Toprak on lap 6 as he managed to stabilise the gap at 2.1 seconds. So perfect response from Toprak, who will have read the pit board and seen that Jonathan Rea was homing in on him. They come through the curves, and Rea has well and truly left Michael van der Mark now. 3.9 seconds the gap just over the last timing point. Tom Sykes still sits in 4th position, but he's now very much got 3 riders for company. Haslam having dropped behind Alex Lowe's, who's come through now for 5th position. Gerloff still in close attendance, and that is a big looking incident indeed for Andrea Locatelli. And wow, that is a massive one, with the whole front end of the machine torn off on lap 7 of 23.
Yeah, Toprak putting him under pressure. Jonathan having to try and answer back as much as he can. Right now the pace is at 29.2 last time around from Jonathan Rea, the fastest lap of the race. That's about 2 seconds off the fastest lap we've seen at Donington Park over the years. So it does give an indication that the track isn't actually too bad right now in terms of the riders, if they're able to pick their spots, can go well. Jonathan, another big moment into Redgate. That's the 3rd moment he's had through there.
Yes, big moment for Jonathan Rea, and that's the one that cost him all that time to Toprak Razgatlioglu. 2.8 seconds is the gap up front as Jonathan Rea will now look to recover, and this is the fight behind. We didn't catch Alex Lowe's coming through on Leon Haslam, but he was able to take 5th position away. Tom Sykes directly up ahead of him. All of the riders from 4th position down, setting new personal best laps on lap number 8. So the pace really is continuing to improve, getting closer and closer to what you would have expected to start with in dry conditions. Bit of a breakaway trio this, because the 3 of them have all just set new personal best laps on lap 11. Van der Mark a 130.1, 129.8 from Sykes, and a 129.6 for Alex Lowe. So the concertina effect, the 3 of them bunching up, and Sykes chooses it's now or never, and he dives through on Michael van der Mark, who's going to have the cutback side by side between the 2 BMWs. They almost bang handlebars there down the straight, and Shomir no doubt is going to be watching on with despair, because he's seeing Alex Lowe's slot between the 2 of them, and as the BMW riders scrap it out amongst themselves, Alex Lowe's is the man to capitalise, just as we suggested he might be. Tom Sykes then is the man to make the break. Van der Mark relegated down to 5th position.
Yeah, good smart riding there from Lowe's to be able to hold that tight line through Coppice. He's going to set up a move down in towards the loop as well, potentially, but Van der Mark trying to run around the outside in contact.
And Van der Mark is going to go very, very wide here. Alex Lowe's tried to slot through on the inside line. He's done so successfully. Van der Mark outbrakes himself somewhat. That's allowed Garrett Gerloff now to slot through, and Van der Mark has gone from 3rd to 6th position. Sykes takes up the challenge now in 3rd place. Lowe's there, wide around Goddard's. We have seen that slightly wider line used by riders throughout this weekend so far. He gathers it up in time to hold on from Garrett Gerloff, but this is where our race is at. 5 riders separated by 1.1 seconds. Van der Mark and Haslam really look to have been dropped now by this trio of riders contesting the final step on the podium. They come out of the Fogarty S's and in towards the Melbourne hairpin. Alex Lowe's is going to make a bold move there on Tom Sykes, shuffles him out of the way. Gerloff comes through as well. So Lowe's was incisive early in the race on Garrett Gerloff there into turn 11. He's done the same at the Melbourne hairpin to Tom Sykes. Lowe's himself now gets in deep into Goddard's. Gerloff tries to muscle him out of the way, and Garrett Gerloff now comes through for 3rd position. Still a 3-rider fight, although I suspect on the evidence of what we've seen over the last couple of laps that Gerloff and Lowe's both have a little bit of pace in hand over the man who's now behind them, Tom Sykes. Well, Garrett Gerloff, who, as I said previously, hasn't had a podium position in a feature-length race in any of the 6 of them so far in this 2021 campaign. He's looking good for one here as Toprak Razgatlioglu comes up behind Jonas Folger. That will be to lap the German. A miserable afternoon so far for the number 94 bike, and he doesn't realise that Razgatlioglu is with him there, I think, as Toprak is forced to be pretty aggressive down the inside into the Melbourne hairpin. But Razgatlioglu in control here, 3.5 seconds clear of Jonathan Rea behind. Well, I completely agree with you there, although it must be said as well that fewer points up for grabs in the Superpole race, so there's not as much of a risk of losing big margins. Just a place on the podium will ensure that over the course of today's race and tomorrow, he won't have lost any ground as long as things stay as they are at present here, and Toprak can fight his way through again as he did so superbly in race 1 here this afternoon. It's Razgatlioglu in front then, with Ray in second position. As I said, playing the percentages game. He doesn't mind giving up 5 points to his main championship rival. He's already seen one of them drop out of this race in, of course, Scott Redding, and we're watching the fight at the moment for third position. Garrett Gerloff holding P3. Alex Lowe's directly behind him. They have, as we... Garrett Gerloff goes down at Goddard's, and Garrett Gerloff from a podium position bails on the machine, and Alex Lowe's comes through for third position. Tom Sykes now up into fourth, and Gerloff has really thrown away a massive opportunity for a podium place.
Real disappointment there for Garrett, because he's had so much potential all the way through this season, and then this is another case where the points just go begging for him. But so easy to happen on the run into Goddard's. You saw him get a bit out of shape over the bumps on the entry. You try and pull it down towards that apex, but unfortunately at Goddard's, the track drops away from you. It's off camber. There are bumps all the way through it, and if you're carrying just that little bit extra speed, you can get caught out in the full dry conditions, never mind whenever there's patches out there as well. For Gerloff, the mistakes might be clocking up at times through the course of the season, but the potential's clearly there. The pace is there, the speed's there, the talent's there, and he might be a bit of a rough diamond at times, but Gerloff's definitely got that potential to be able to be a real contender.
Alvaro Bautista gets in deep at Goddard's, and that will be all the invitation that Garrett Gerloff needs to come through for 7th position. He's already picked off Luca Myers, and now Alvaro Bautista falls prey to him. So 2 positions gained since that fall at Goddard's, at which stage he sat in 3rd position. He's now back up to 7th. Not a bad recovery ride from Garrett Gerloff. A little bit more backmarker traffic here for Toprak Razgatlioglu in Loris Cresson, who moves out of the way in pretty straightforward fashion just to allow the race leader to continue on. And continue on he does. The advantage now up to 5 seconds between Razgatlioglu and Ray. An interesting look here at the balance of power in the manufacturer standings, and as things are, and if they stay as they are at present, of course Kawasaki will pick up 20 points through Jonathan Ray. Yamaha will pick up a big bag full of points, 25 of course for Toprak Razgatlioglu with victory. And we've been saying it all season long, but the gap's oscillating between the different manufacturers, and they are generally pretty evenly matched in World SBK these days. Toprak Razgatlioglu then back at the venue where he secured the first podium of his career back in 2018. He's going to further reduce the deficit in the championship standings to the series leader Jonathan Ray. He said he was fed up with finishing in 3rd or 2nd positions. It's back-to-back wins for Toprak Razgatlioglu. 2.5 seconds his leading margin at one stage there over Jonathan Ray. Ray takes 2nd position. Another podium added to his account. 10 in a row for him. Alex Lowe's it is who comes across the line in 3rd position, so more great points from the KRT duo. It's a first podium for Lowe's since race 2 in Aragon, the season opener. Race 2 of the Prosecco DOC UK round from Donington Park for 2021. Lights out. Not a good start at all from Michael Vandermark. He's getting swallowed up by 2 Yamahas in the run to the first turn. Razgatlioglu charging through from 6th to 2nd. There he goes again around the outside line at Redgate. Leon Haslam getting relegated back by Garrett Gerloff. So Gerloff also making decent early progress, but Vandermark slipping back dramatically. He's already dropped down from a front row grid slot into 6th position. Luca Myers challenging him now up the inside as they come through the right-hander. Side by side now for 3rd position. Tom Sykes pops through on the inside of Garrett Gerloff. That move came from absolutely nowhere. They now come through McLean side by side with Sykes on the inside of Razgatlioglu, who's going to try the cutback. They're going to run it through still side by side, these two. The BMW, the number 66 of Tom Sykes, the track specialist here, but Toprak eventually knows enough, and it looks as though he's managed to get in front and get some clear air now. Sykes will try to respond. They come down the Dunlop straight in towards the Fogarty S's, side by side for 4th position as well. well as Haslam makes a late move there on Garrett Gerloff. Gerloff is pushed offline, recovers to the circuit well. So, race number 2 here in Donington Park. Stunning start again from Razgatlioglu through from 6th to 2nd. Sykes keeping him honest in the early stages. Vandermark holding on valiantly for 6th position, but he's dropped back alarmingly in the early stages from 3rd.
Toprak's so much faster mid-corner than Ray right now, but Ray actually riding a good defensive line through this section, but Toprak's got a chance.
Razgatlioglu down the inside at the start of the Dunlop Straight. He's now going to try and stretch his legs coming off Coppes. Ray will attempt to respond in towards the Fogarty S's. We've seen him do it before on Tom Sykes here, of course, 2 years ago. On this occasion, Toprak late on the brakes, as you might like, and he holds on. This is Scott Redding. He's just made a pass on Michael Vandermark for 6th position. So Redding continuing his progress. Next in the line of fire is Leon Haslam in 5th. Haslam's been dropped by a second now by Garrett Gerloff, but it's going to be a lonely race as things stand for the Texan, because he's got 1.5 seconds to cover if he wants to get on terms with Tom Sykes. We ride on board here with Jonathan Ray as he thinks about a move to the inside at the end of the Dunlop Straight. That's how close he gets to Toprak Razgatlioglu. I think he might have missed his braking point this time if he didn't the lap before. This time around then, Razgatlioglu gets half a second's daylight.
Tell you what, you can see how much those riders are willing to battle with one another. You talk to a lot of riders out there about who are the riders that are fair to battle with, who are the ones that you want to get into a bit of a tussle with. Toprak's one that everyone actually enjoys getting in a battle with. Jonathan Ray as well, you can see here how he has to bail out on this as well, but this could have gone very wrong for Ray, but he always finds a way to just about manage to avoid the issue there. So for Jonathan Ray, he loses a few tenths of a second there, half a second on that last lap. It's all lost in the S's, but he's still within 3/4 of a second of the race leader.
Impressive really that he maintained. Problems for Leon Haslam. Haslam is dropping back around the outside there with Alex Lowe's cutting through. Haslam looked to be running slowly through Redgate offline. Whether that was a mistake or whether there's a terminal problem here for Haslam, I can't say, but he's already dropped out of 6th position, now down to P8, and Luca Myers, who's been running strongly in recent laps, 0.8 of a second faster than him as well last lap around. Yes, further back, his teammate Alvaro Bautista. How many times have we seen this? They end up meeting in the middle. Bautista half a second a lap faster than Haslam at the moment. He's up to 13th position. Quick watch on the Ducati runners. Scott Redding up in P5, released by Michael Vandermark to go off and try and chase Garrett Gerloff. It'll be interesting to see what he can do just at the head of this field of 5 riders as we watch Leon Haslam having dropped down to 8th position. Remember, Haslam started in P4 following an excellent effort in the Superpole race this morning, but he is now under siege from Luca Myers, who's always an aggressive mover, and that was candy from a baby really there for the Kawasaki runner. Haslam switches it back sweetly, manages to hold the racing line, but even then Myers has too much for him and comes through ahead of Goddard's.
Yeah, and you can see Myers runs in deep. That's open Haslam down the inside and make contact there, and certainly for Haslam, he's trying to hold his line. Myers has just made a bit of a mistake there, so it's lucky that we've not had an incident between them.
Alex Lowe's through on Michael Vandermark. This is for 6th position. Vandermark tries to stick it out and tough it out around the outside, but it's not working for him. So the Kawasaki's at this stage of the race looking strong. We've just seen Luca Myers come through on Leon Haslam. Now we've seen Alex Lowe's through on Michael Vandermark for 6th position. Just 1/10 of a second between them across the last timing point, with Jonathan Ray still trying to eye up a manoeuvre. This is where Jonathan Ray is at his strongest, through McLean's, through Coppes, onto the Dunlop Straight, and at the end of it, he's been very close in the braking zone towards Razgatlioglu, who has made a mistake there, and Ray cuts through on the inside, and Toprak immediately looks over his shoulder just to check on the pack behind him. 2.7 seconds is the gap to 3rd position. It's all about this duo in front in the context of the championship. Jonathan Ray set to extend his series lead after making a lap 10 pass on rival Razgatlioglu.
Yeah, really critical for Toprak to be able to do that. I said a few laps ago, Jonathan Ray usually...
Jonathan Ray! No, so rare error from the reigning world champion from the race lead on lap 11, under pressure from Toprak Razgatlioglu, and look at how that's going to change the world championship. We were talking about a potential 10-point swing. Forget about it. The points tumbling away as Jonathan Ray tumbles into the gravel trap.
Yeah, you don't tend to see too many mistakes from Jonathan Ray. We have, over the course of the last few years, seen one mistake a year for Ray. Ray. He hasn't made any up to this point this season. He's made a big one there into Coppice. You can see trying to just hold on to that race lead, trying to pull away from Toprak, just folds that front on the run through Coppice. Very easy for that to happen. We've seen other riders fall at Coppice through the course this season. Of course, this weekend we saw Haslam in the Super Pole session. We saw a few other riders as well. Easy to get caught out there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a World Championship. Jonathan Ray is attempting to recover to the circuit, but if he does fail to score in this race, which at the moment you'd have to suggest is extremely likely, Razgatlioglu could take the lead of the series by a 2-point margin with 25 points banked here. Race 2 heading towards half race distance. Toprak with a 2.5 second gap behind him. How the tables have turned. Garrett Gerloff still pushing hard in second position. The fight further down the order ongoing between Alex Lowe's and Michael Vandermark. Vandermark has got that gap back down to absolutely nothing. So Lowe's had half a second in his pocket or more at the start of this lap. The two have swapped and changed positions already once in sector 1, I think it must have been. Yes, and they're all mid to low 1 minute 28s as well. The sort of 1:28.6 that he set last time around is on the higher end of the times he's been setting. That is monotonous pace, the like of which we've often seen from Jonathan Ray, maybe, in the past.
From Jonathan Ray, we do tend to see that consistency. From other riders, we tend to see them get stronger as the race goes on. Scott Redding, surprisingly, on that X tyre, just set his fastest lap of the race with only 3 laps to go. So for Redding, he's closing in on Sykes. He's got that gap down to a second.
As we watch the riders making their way through the Fogarty S's in super slow motion.
Yeah, and you can see for Garrett Gerloff coming through here in second position right now. Gerloff, he's got 3 seconds in front of him to Toprak, 3 seconds behind them, so a bit of an isolated race for him as well, but he won't be too annoyed if he's able to come away with his first podium in a feature race this season and 20 points.
Yes, third position in the Super Pole race in Aragon, of course, his only top 3 finish of this 2021 campaign so far. So Garrett Gerloff looking for not only his best result of this 2021 campaign, but also a first top 3 finish in a full-length race, as you've said. Still a way to go just yet, but it's just about keeping it on the island from here on in for the 2 Yamahas out in front. How often have we been able to say that in recent years? Razgatlioglu and Gerloff leading the way. It's Sykes in third position, and the gap really coming down now to Scott Redding. He's made up another few tenths in the final sector of that last lap around. So Redding is the man on the move. 0.6 of a second now the gap for Tom Sykes to try and defend. Razgatlioglu's got this job done, barring any mistakes in the closing stages, but it's a new personal best lap from Scott Redding, a 1:28.423. We switch back to them now. Nothing to choose between them, just 3 tenths, and we've seen Redding has been 3 tenths a lap faster than Tom Sykes. This is going to get close at the finish, much as you suggested, Steve, the battle further back down the order could close as well, although Chaz Davies looks to have lost ground there on the penultimate lap. So Davies perhaps his fight extinguished with Alex Lowe's, who should be able to settle it down for 6th. It's a whole lot closer than that, though, when we look for the final step of the podium.
Yeah, you can see the potential between the 2 bikes very similar, but Scott Redding setting his time right at the end when the tyre's pretty much used up, so it shows how strong that Ducati's been as the race progresses. But he's had too much ground to make up on Tom Sykes, but he is in a position now, if he can be really strong through Coppice down to Dunlop straight and then have a good run through the S's, he might be close enough to try and set something up into the loop, but it's a big ask from where he is right now.
Scott Redding doesn't look to me to be close enough to the tail of Tom Sykes to make it through. They come through the Fogarty S's for the final time. It's going to have to be a big bold move down the hill in towards the Melbourne hairpin. Sykes defends the inside line. Redding once again sliding it in wide into the penultimate turn, and I think that settles it for third. Meanwhile, with 1 turn to go, making his way through Goddard's, he's soaked up all of the pressure this weekend exerted by Jonathan Ray. Ray's gone down in the gravel trap, and you have a new championship leader leaving round 4 of the 2021 campaign. Toprak Razgatlioglu makes it 2 victories from the UK round and takes a 2-point series advantage over the reigning world champion.